will try to be as transparent as possible and honest with myself and try to not mislead you with my subjective opinion of my experience with the R16 V2, which, as some of you already know, I use for the last 4 weeks and compete in the new Bullers Championship schedule. First, I never really give much attention to bases in the range of 15 Newton meters because they were usually close in terms of prices to the top offers of the same companies. Even if while testing the Simucube 15 Nm Sport versus the 25 Nm Pro and 30 Nm Ultimate, I realized that all those bases differences are negligible in terms of force feedback quality under normal use, which for me is at around 12 Nm peaks and below. And I still suggested to those who ask me to go for the Pro model and never think again about upgrade just because of the small price differences. And now, I start slowly changing my personal opinion with all those new prices which are going lower through the incredible competition those days. I still believe, for me personally, knowing myself well, even the 9Nm R9 or the Simagic Mini and R12 will be absolutely enough to take what I want from sim feedback, but I also know well my ego and would prefer to have 20Nm and above bases, even if I will never use those numbers. I hope you are getting the point. I'm mostly afraid of my own ego, and I don't want to ever think, what if? Anyway, that being said, after testing all those different numbers in direct drive wheel bases, I can admit to myself that 16 Nm is absolutely enough to give me that room of having very strong forces if I want, but use it at around 70% power for my everyday driving. That statement, of course, is not scientific proof, but my subjective observation after my own experience and my own personal like. In competitive racing or competitive practice, I will never use 16 Nm peak torques because I don't want the forces to drive me, but only feel enough to understand the car behavior and navigate with calm and smooth inputs the car around the track. Now, let me explain why I'm so impressed with the R16 V2. Coming from the 23 Nm Simagic Ultimate, which I drove for a year daily, and I have only good things to say about that base. The R16 felt instantly on par after a few tweaks in my daily drive. I used to say that the Alpha Ultimate can be the smoothest experience, and somehow I've got that same feeling with the R16. The transition of the force feedback direction in setting 6 of the road effects is just as smooth as the top of the line and one of my favorite daily bases, Alpha Ultimate. Another thing that surprised me pleasantly was the road effect slider, which at 10 I can feel the noisy feedback with some really cool curbs effects, but when I start tuning this down, I found that road effects details are almost with the same intensity, but the transition of the feedback from one effect to another just feels smoother. In other bases, tuning down the road effects usually they just become muted and weaker, but here they have almost the same intensity, but with smoother transition. That for me is brutal step in the correct direction and something I feel first time having experience with most of the brands on the market. And that same experience was the same across iRacing, ACC Automobilista 2 and rFactor, which are the sims I usually drive. Again, subjectively speaking, I don't feel any latency going on smoother settings, which usually is the case and affect the responsiveness. If there is some latency, which must be, as there is lots of processing of the force feedback, I personally can't feel it at all, even the slightest. One of the weakest spots of Moza for me was not the speed, but the level of smoothness without losing details in comparison to Simagic, who did a great job with that, and now it's absolutely possible with the V2. Now, I'm saying the V2 as I attached the R21 V1, and somehow the R16 was a bit more alive with the little details on the same settings and smoothness level. They definitely both felt equally smooth, but somehow the R16 gave a bit more clean road effects. It is not like night and day difference, of course, and I really hope it's not just in my head, but I can swear I expect it to be the other way around. I start asking Moza team if there are any internal hardware changes which improve the feedback, as reading the specs everything looks the same and still haven't got clear answer, but I truly hope if that is just firmware and software improvement to be implemented in the V1 series. Nevertheless, the old videos I have seen for the R16 V1, everyone says is not as good as the 21, but I felt something different between the R16 V2 versus the 21 V1, and I already love the R21 a lot. Anyway, when I get clear answer from Moza technicians, I will put it in the comment section and make it clear. Nevertheless, software or hardware improvement, it feels absolutely awesome and can compete with my favorite Alpha Ultimate in terms of force feedback quality and smoothness level. Now, all that was my subjective explanation of my experience, and if I have to choose between the original R21 V1 and this, I will pick the R16 as the extra 5 Nm doesn't make any difference in my use case, but the little more clean details of the V2 are definitely the way to go. That being said, here are the objective upgrades. The V2 have another mounting option in front, and they have released also front mount bracket, which is very light with some adjustments. Another upgrade is the new dual wheel wireless connectivity. I never had problem with the old, but they say this is way better. Also, new ports for the Moza ecosystem accessories like pedals, shifters and handbrake. And as the shaft is changed, the old extension kit doesn't work, but they have new one which is a bit more expensive, but the reason for that is the actual quick release in the kit. I also like they chose to go with shorter version, which is enough to put the base behind the monitors. If you know my setup, you know I need extensions, and 15 cm is better than 20 on the old, as it won't ask as much work of the motor. All those are minor improvements, but all based from community requests, and Moza looks like are good of taking notes. Also subjectively felt better than the original R21, and the prices are way down than the first models when they come out a few years back. And considering the money have way less value than a few years back, all this looks like very good steps in the right direction. I will stick with that base for the next few months and try to keep you up with my settings, and maybe we'll try to have access to the R21 V2 and see if that can make any difference, which I doubt, as this already feels top to me and have no idea what the bigger brother can improve. For now, I am definitely very happy of the Moza force feedback quality achievement, and we'll push this hard to see how we'll deal with the test of time. Also, if you have any specific questions, let me know, and that being said, much love everyone, and if you stick around, I may see you in another video. Let's push the road.